This is the world's tallest mechanical man in Stateline, Wendover, Nevada. And you're going to see also the Stateline Hotel. Now, for those of you that stayed at the Stateline Hotel, this was the way it looked about 35 years ago. And if you've seen it now, it really has changed considerable into one of the biggest gambling casinos in the state of Nevada. We left Wendover, now we're heading out toward the Bonneville Salt Flats. This big sign is no longer there. It's been replaced by a much smaller sign designating where the salt flats are.
This is before the races. The cars are all clean.
The cars are all just getting, yeah. This is the pit area. And I mentioned earlier that you're not going to see any cars in here much later than about 1952. Well, there's a 53 Ford. I saw a 53 Ford there, yeah. Bonneville first held its run out there in 1949. And I think there was only about 47 cars competing in the first year. Now they've become quite common to have 300 to 400 entries there. Sometimes they'll run two courses, a short and a long course. The cars have to exceed 175 miles an hour to be able to run the full 5-mile course. This gentleman with the red shirt is Moultrie Aldrich. He's the chief inspector for many years, and he's now living in Northern California. And he really got into it. What he's doing here is check and make sure the seat and the shoulder harness, the seat belt are all secured properly. And he gave the cars a good going over. If you got by him, you know your car was pretty safe to run. This yellow sports car right here is run by Sonny's Muffler in San Gabriel. Here's the Ken's Leslie twin-engine car. It had two Ford engines in it, and they turned, look on my sheet here, they turned 266 miles an hour later when they put three engines in it. They turned a little over 200 with two engines. They finally just took the driver and moved him back of the rear engine and put another engine in where the driver sits right now. You notice the roll bar? Where is it?
There isn't.
There isn't. There is no roll bar. A lot of cars you're going to see run here do not have a roll bar. It took a few fatalities to realize that maybe a roll bar would have saved the driver. Two flathead engines.
Well, actually, three.
Look at the
one of the Roadster too.
Yeah, notice the neat little push car they got there taking off. Here we are with the SCTA stand again. They haul this in the back of a trailer. In that trailer, I have to get out and reassemble the whole thing. Takes them maybe an hour to reassemble it. Now you're looking down the Bonneville Salt Flats. It's one of the few places in the world where you can look where a car will disappear over the horizon. You can actually see the curvature of the earth. Of course, what is Bonneville without having to do some repair work? This is the Bean Bandit car right here getting an engine changed. Bean Bandits were running way back in the early. They were the pioneers in drag racing as well as the Bonneville.
Yeah, way back in the 40s.
This yellow sports car right here is run by Guy Mabry Drilling Company at a 360-inch Chrysler. And they have motorcycles now that run over 200 miles an hour out there. That would be a wild ride. This Streamliner right here run by Lee Speed Shop from Oakland. They had a 296-inch flathead engine in it, but they had their own overhead valve conversion. And I don't have any time listed for the car, but it had an overhead conversion. Streamliner here runs by LeBlanc and Pangrave, ran two Chrysler engines. The driver would look out through the nose. If you notice when we get another shot, it looks like there's paper covering up a clear plexiglass. So the driver looked out through the nose of it. That's Howard Johansson of Howard Cams right now checking the car over. He was instrumental in a lot of the construction work and the engine work on the car. Long gone. You really have to hear the sound of the engines at Bonneville to really appreciate what it is. Because you can hear, if you're up at the finish line at the 2-mile mark, you can hear a car start, clear its engines out, make a run, and you can hear him go through all the gears until he passes by you at some pretty good clip. Wendover only had a couple of garages, and they were busy most of the time. The guys would blow an engine. Rather than change it out on the salt flat, they would come into the garages. And notice the unique engine lift they have here with the wheel to work the engine in and out. Fellow here discussing a part. Looks like he's holding a valve. And see, is it supposed to be bent that way? Here we have the little Ollie Morris's Smoking White Owl, as it was known. They ran a flathead at the drags. They had a Chrysler at Bonneville, ran 196 in 53 with a Chrysler engine in it. The Bonneville course is probably the only place in the world where you can run a car, and if your brakes fail, your parachute doesn't open up, you can just coast to a stop. After going maybe 200 or 300 miles an hour, you got a lot of shut-off area. And that's not recommended, but if you do get in the bind, the point we're making is you have all sorts of room to get yourself shut down in case of a major problem. This guy here run by Art Crispin brothers. In 53, they won 160 with an Ardent, 163 with a Flathead. 54, they won 180 with a Dodge, 183 with a DeSoto. And in 55, they won 196 with a Chrysler. Cars run by Crispin brothers and Duncan. And Art was the driver. This little modified coupe right here is run by the team of Hurst and Hunt. And this is just about the ultimate in getting a car down to the modified class. This Roadster here is run by Don Sormento. I have no other information on him, but one of my friends identified the car for me. You're going to see a pickup truck here run by Groves Texaco. They were running this car out the Bonneville Speed Trials, and they also, the fellows who have this truck were quite competitive at the drag races at Santa Ana and some of the other drag strips in the area. A little bit wet there sometimes in the morning. If they had a lot of rain, we get quite wet, but then the water would just disappear down into the salt, and after a little dry off there, they were able to run again. This white Roadster right here, run by Larry Shinada, is working on the engine. Bruce Robinson had the Oldsmobile engine in it. The engine later went into the Bustle Bomb. The Oldsmobile went into the front of the Bustle Bomb. This Larry also went to work for Chevrolet later and was instrumental in designing the Stingray Corvette. This belly tank here, run by Howard Cams and the Nicholson Brothers Speed Shop. The Chrysler engine, this car came from the Streamliner, the Blanc Streamliner. Our next segment coming up will be some stock car races that take place back in the late 40s. And we're not too sure about what track it was, but you're going to get a kick out of seeing some of the Hudsons and the Crosleys competing on the circle track.
Same track. On
the same track, yeah.
At the same time.
Well, what do you call circle tracks, Joel?
I call them roundy rounds.
Roundy rounds, yeah.
Roundy rounds.
Yeah. But it's kind of interesting.